I was always sick, like growing up, and by the time I was a teenager, I went on a road trip and I ran out of medication, and a girl traded me a pack of cigarettes for some cannabis. And I smoked it, and I didn't need my Plaquenil for my rheumatoid arthritis. And that was the first time. I was 17, 18, something like that. It was the very first time that I ever thought of it medicinally.
My practice is solely in the area of cannabis, and particularly in the area of raw cannabis as a food. My perspective is that disease prevention is what it is all about. You only need it therapeutically when you've failed to use it in your diet for the prevention of disease. I perceive cannabis as supporting the immune system's ability to detect and remove abnormal cells.
I made a decision to drop out of school and drive to California to use cannabis to modulate my immune system. And everybody thought that I was completely crazy. Being sick, I had never really driven more than like 40 minutes in one direction ever. And I'm like, packing up the minivan, I'm gonna drive to California and I'm gonna find people that'll give me cannabis and get well.
The body produces multiple compounds that are cannabinoid-like. They're called endogenous cannabinoids. Well, the body has receptors that these endogenous cannabinoids attach to, and it turns out that the plant produces cannabinoids. They're called exogenous or phytocannabinoids. These two systems interface.
I'd been told by more than 30 different doctors, we're trying to make you comfortable and you have to take the standard model of prednisone and methotrexate, and my allergies to these medicines made me seek out different treatment. Cannabis was helping me to get rid of all of these different conditions. And at first, I tried using it in a smoked form and even in dried capsules and edibles. And it was helpful, but it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. I was still having infections. I was still having the lupus discoid lesions. I was still having trouble going out in the sun. And my ex-fiance was like, you should go see Dr. Courtney and discuss cannabis with him.
She had been bedridden for 4 years and quite ill with autoimmune disorders. And so she had started to study the effect of cannabis in helping her decrease some of her medicines, and then got into cannabinoid science. She asked to look at some of the books in my library, and a few people will do that occasionally. Most of them take the books, and if they bring them back, I'm pretty excited. But I actually was wandering around Mendocino, and she was sitting at an outdoor cafe, and she was actually reading a very intense medical cannabis chemistry text. And she was just sitting there like reading page after page after page, and it was like, oh, she's serious.
So I went to see William and to talk to him about why cannabis wasn't in these other forms, wasn't really doing what I had thought that it would do for my immune system. And he invited me to go to the International Cannabinoid Research Society Symposium in Canada that year.
I saw her after her incredibly arduous journey across the country, and eventually I think she had to drag her suitcase quite a distance to get there.
You know, I took the wrong bus to Saint Savoie, and I finally got there. And they were like, the conference is closed for the day. And I was about to cry, and I bent over to look in my bag, and when I stood up, there was William. And he said, I waited for you. And we went on our first date that night.
I was suddenly aware that this was a very attractive individual, in addition to someone who I had already had tremendous respect for her.
We went out to a cafe called Casablanca, and that's my favorite movie. And I remember I thought I was rubbing the leg of the chair, and it was his leg. And he was like, maybe that's too much to go into. And he was like, you don't have to stop. And later that night, we were already saying I love you after a couple hours of being together.
things moved very quickly to an interest in each other as individuals, as well as a couple of scientists who suddenly were finding a larger relationship.
When you know it's right, and we've been living together ever since, and I'm totally in love with him still. I was watching him this morning sleeping and thinking that I've never seen anyone more beautiful.
Cheers.
Cheers to health.
We started moving into raw cannabis and juicing it, incorporated other raw vegetables.
I caught an infection that I couldn't get rid of on antibiotics. And after using 3 different kinds of antibiotics, the rheumatologist at UCSF told me that I was going to need to go in the hospital. So we started making juice from it. And after 2 weeks of juicing again, the infection completely cleared up without taking any more antibiotics. And I knew then that the juice had done something.
At this point, we've moved from juicing almost completely, and now we're blending. That puts 100% of the fiber, 100% of the contents, and allows a reduction in the amount of plant material. There's a lot less material wasted.
I was told to have a hysterectomy by 3 different doctors, and I was going to do that. And then something just told me no.
She was told that she was sterile, that she could not produce any eggs, that she would have to adopt because she would never be able to have a baby.
8 months into the relationship, after I'd been juicing cannabis, I was pregnant.
For her, child rearing is just not only just special, it is for every person, but for her it was a gift that this plant made available to her. I mean, it turned around an infertile state to a fertile state.
Western medicine has no explanation besides it's a miracle. Well, it is a miracle, and it's called cannabis. My girls are the most important thing in my whole life. I love them. My case is just one of thousands of extremely significant results that I attribute to cannabis juicing.
I believe this plant is a sacred plant, maybe as are all plants, all creatures, all beings on the planet. If we studied this plant and our relationship, we would understand the web of life so much more significantly, develop a respect for the planet and our place in this world.
A big part of the calling that we both have in life, to heal people and to let them know about this medicine and about this specific way of using this medicine.
The depth of the relationship between this plant and our physiology is still just coming to light, and its potential is really unlimited.